The Cam Sutton era is over in Detroit.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Matt Derry with you. It is another episode, an edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today is Thursday, March 21st into Friday, March 22nd. Thanks for making us your first listen and certainly checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Find us on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions, Matt Derry Facebook fan page, on Threads at The Real Matt Derry. And of course, check us out for free on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel where you can watch the video side and subscribe. Comment all you want. Shout out to our everydayers that are out there, and that includes my guy, JW Scoops, our Harbor Springs insider, and Danny French, the king of Highland. Shout out to Danny French, huge Lions fan. We appreciate those guys checking us out each and every single day. Coming up today, big news moments ago, before I hit record on this very show, Cam Sutton, announced by the Lions, has been released. We will get into that coming up momentarily. Also, a little bit of a history lesson because I ripped on Mike Greenberg pretty good the other day for saying that the Lions window is closed. And I still believe that he's stupid for making that point. But there is some history behind teams that have blown big leads in championship games that is against the Lions. Now, that wasn't Greenberg's point, but I do want to get into that and a kind of mountain that the Lions might have to climb after what took place in the NFC Championship game. We will talk about that coming up momentarily here on Locked On Lions. Some Josh Reynolds news and also a mock draft story that I have for you. All of that today right here on Locked On Lions. Our broadcast today is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. For those of you that are new to the podcast, welcome in. Thanks for checking us out. We are here Monday through Friday, and of course during the season with our Sunday post-game pods. We're getting close to the draft, almost a month away. A lot of festivities going on downtown for the draft. I have not made my plans yet on what's going on. I know we do a draft show here on the network, so stay tuned for that. I know some of you reached out. Hey, where are you going to be? Not sure yet, so I'll let you know if I am in fact going to be down there at all. All right. So yesterday we told you the big news that Hillsborough County police and authorities down in Florida are searching for Lions cornerback Cam Sutton. Well, now he's no longer Lions cornerback. The team has released him today. The Lions are going to have a dead cap hit of about $19 million. And against the cap, it'll be $6 million, which is a lot of money to spend on a player that's not on the team. But credit goes to Sheila Fordham, the Lions owner. I think she wanted this off of the radar. I think she wanted this away from the team. And the club announced today he's gone. Sutton, if you missed it yesterday, he's wanted for battering a woman, strangulation. There are reports that he strangled a woman and shoved her off a third-story building. I mean, the third story of a building. All of these things. Sutton has been running from the police for 2 weeks. This warrant for his arrest was issued March 7th. No one knows where he is. Somebody joked today on Twitter, someone needs to tell him after the Lions, of course, released the starting cornerback. He was paid 3 years, $33 million to go into last season. He had a really good start to the year. He was the team's top cornerback at the start of the season. And then as the year wore on, his play got worse. All right. And there are a lot of fans that are happy that he's gone. Listen, he's a human being, innocent until proven guilty. Hopefully he didn't do these things, but the Lions they're washing their hands of it. They're getting out of the Cam Sutton business right here, right now. He's running away. No one can find him. His phone doesn't work. They're tracking his license plate now and think they can find him, but it's been 2 weeks. I mean, the Lions probably can't get a hold of him. No one can. And it's obvious for him not to be hiding and to be running makes you think that he did what he did. And it's just disgusting. It's egregious. And the Lions, we talked about this yesterday. The Lions had to make a decision. If they wait, don't do anything, let due process play out. Let's say Sutton turns himself into authorities. Let's say he pleads not guilty. If the league suspended him, the Lions would recuperate his salary and his money and be able to take that money because of the domestic violence situation and spend it on another player. The Lions today decided we're not even going to get anywhere near any of that and wait on the league and wait on the authorities. We're just cutting bait. And I commend them for that. I do. There are some people that said, why didn't they do this yesterday? Well, maybe they need to get all the facts. Maybe they were trying to get a hold of them themselves. Who knows? But Cam Sutton is gone. And now that that's official, you have to figure that in the draft, and again, betting on what Brad Holmes is going to do at number 29 is anybody's guess. But you got to figure now a cornerback is back in play at 29 because, yesterday you looked up or even 2 days ago and you went, all right, Sutton's going to be back. You got Carlton Davis. You got Amik Robertson. You've got Emmanuel Mosley if he's healthy. The Lions have a deeper cornerback room now than they have had in the past. Stephen Gilmore they like, and there's others. Khalil Dorsey's back. So now you got to figure a cornerback would be in play once again at number 29. There's no guarantees Emmanuel Mosley is going to be ready to start the season for tearing his ACL again. Robertson and Brian Branch, I didn't even mention Brian Branch, are more nickel guys, slot corners. Lions need an outside corner again. So that will be back in play coming up soon. But the Cam Sutton situation is really kind of gross. It's interesting. The Lions have had a culture shift these last 3 years. They've said it. They want to stay away from any player that they feel might have a little dirt under the fingernails. Might not be somebody that fits, their culture and what they want to do. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson pushed the envelope a bit. I was told by a couple of people when GJ came back and told the media, I'm not coming back from my injury to be a bit player, that a few coaches had a little words with him. Like, hey, keep your mouth shut. That's not what we do here. This is a team. But there have been players that people tweet to me all the time. Why did the Lions sign Jadeveon Clowney? Jadeveon Clowney's been a guy that at some stops has been a headache. The Lions stay away. The other day, Sam Monson from PFF mentioned the wide receiver Franklin from Oregon. And I have people tweeting to me, including our buddy Turner Batdorf, who's an everydayer, saying, knock on Franklin is not a great guy. Doesn't play hard all the time. Well, that doesn't fit what the Lions do, but I commend them for doing what they did today, and that is getting rid of Cam Sutton. All right, we're going to do a little history lesson coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. Yes, when teams blow big leads in championship games and in Super Bowls, it is difficult for them to get back. There are some exceptions. I will explain coming up next right here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We mentioned before the Locked On Lions today is brought to you by FanDuel. Here we go. We already got some busted brackets. BYU losing today to Duquesne. Shout out to Keith Dambrot. Well, whether you're betting on a big upset or a one seed, time to go dancing with America's #1 sportsbook. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tournament. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, if your first $5 bet wins. Put down $5 and win, and you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who is going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Shout out to Michigan State. Big win for the Spartans today. If you had them against Mississippi State, you won. Bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, so my crack research staff put in some extra work today, and I really appreciate them. So I'm going to give them a shout out. They know who they are. In regards to the past, all right, we know this. The Detroit Lions blew a 17-point lead. Putting on my readers here. 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game. And the crack research staff looked at the numbers. Here's where we're at, okay? The Lions' 17-point lead was the blown lead in the NFC Championship game. Again, talking heads like that nerd Mike Greenberg from ESPN. No, the Lions, the window's closed. Okay. I'm not agreeing with that. But what I am going to give you is some numbers. I'm going to give you some stats. The Lions' 17-point lead was the 31st time in NFL history that a team blew a 14-plus point lead in the playoffs. Of the previous 30 times, 16 teams, a little more than half, missed the playoffs the next season. And 14 made the playoffs the following year. I still say the Lions are going to be a playoff team next year. Average year to return to the playoffs, 3 years. Oh, God. To the same playoff round, 5 years. To surpass that round of the playoffs of the Lions for going to the Super Bowl, 6.5 years. 11 of those teams have yet to reach the Super Bowl after, of course, they blew the lead. Now, remember this. 2 other teams made it within 2 years. All right, no, let me go back. Only 2 teams have blown playoff leads of 14-plus points and made it to the Super Bowl the next year. 2006 New England, 2021 Kansas City. Both teams blew 18-point leads in the championship game, then made the Super Bowl the following year. Of course, those teams were led by Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. But shout out to Jared Goff. He's good. All right. Now, here's the thing. It took 2 transcendent first ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks to surpass the previous year's playoff round for teams that made a deep run and blew a big lead. Right? Among all 30 teams, 53.3% did not make the playoffs the next year, which we talked about, 16 out of 30. The teams that blew 14-point leads, but then got back the next year in the conference championship game, we said before, there have been 5 that have done it in the conference championship game. 2021 Chiefs blew an 18-point lead. 2014 Packers blew a 16-point lead. 2012 Falcons blew a 17-point lead. And the 2006 Patriots blew an 18-point lead. The Lions now are the 5th team. Of the 5 teams to blow 14-point leads in the conference championship game or the Super Bowl, 4 made it back to the playoffs, but only New England and Kansas City made it back to the round, which the blown lead occurred. So if you look at the numbers, if you hear the stats that I just read you, history is not on the Lions' side. That sucks. It does take its toll. You do start to think about these things. All right. And I'm not going to sit here and talk about the NFC Championship game ad nauseum and tick off my audience. I'm just giving you some numbers here. All right. It's been done recently, but not a lot, not a ton. Right. But again, when Greenberg was on his ESPN radio show, basically saying, oh yeah, no one gets back. Look at Dan Marino. Look at that. Mahomes did get back. Brady just did get back. All right. And he wasn't talking about 14-plus point leads or 17-point plus leads. Here's the other thing that I like about this Lions team. Well, there's 2 things when it comes to this situation. Number one, they're led by a head coach who does not care about the past. Dan Campbell will have this team focused in September on this season. There will not be any harping on the past. He's going to knock that out quickly. That's number one. Number 2, it's a young team. Teams that go far all have veteran players. All right. The Lions had some veteran players. We talked with Sam Monson on Tuesday from Pro Football Focus. Go back and watch the video, watch the podcast or listen to it. And he said it. Green Bay is really, really young. and an upstart. The Lions are young too. Their quarterback isn't even 30 yet. Who are the Lions' best players off the top of your head? Penei Sewell, best right tackle in the game. What's he, 23, 24? Aiden Hutchinson, 23, 24. Sam Laporta, 23. I just got engaged. Jared Goff, under 30. Lee McNeil, 25. Amon-Ra, 25, right? 24, 20. Young talent that is hungry to get back. It's going to be hard. And I was talking about this today with somebody. Schedule's tough. They're going to play a lot of primetime games. I'm hearing already that the Lions are preparing for a Monday night game to start the year. I'm just hearing that. Nothing confirmed. I'm just telling you I've heard that from my sources. Also heard Buffalo is likely going to be the Thanksgiving opponent, or Indianapolis. I think the Lions are going to be on CBS. The Lions are playing a lot of tough games. Got to play Houston. Got to play Indy. Got to play Buffalo. Got to play San Francisco again. Got to play Dallas again. All right. They're playing a first place schedule. They're playing good teams. So history says it's not on the Lions' side. 16 out of 30 teams the next season didn't even make the playoffs after blowing leads like that. But I think this team's a little bit different. We'll see. This is the same team that a couple of years ago won 3 football games. Now, again, they turned over the roster. They added, they subtracted. But to go from 3 to 9 to 12 is pretty darn good. What if they went 11-6 this year? Still got into the playoffs. Maybe tied with the Packers. Maybe Green Bay had the tiebreaker. Maybe they're just a wild card. Maybe they had to play, not playing an extra game, but maybe they had to play an extra road game. Whatever it is. It's a good football team. It's a young team. And I believe they're going to be all right. I got something on mock drafts. Tonight, the Locked On podcast hosts are putting on our mock draft for the Locked On Podcast Network. And I'm working tonight. I'm doing the G League game on the prep with Chad Bush, the Motor City Cruise. And so I might have to miss the mock draft. So I sent in 10 picks that I think the Lions would want and who could be there at 29. And it's a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. But first, Josh Reynolds reportedly has a visit. According to ESPN, the still free agent wide receiver is scheduled to meet this week with the Baltimore Ravens. Reynolds, of course, age 29, has been with the Lions for the last 2.5 years, joined the team in 2021. Real popular in the locker room, has played very well. He's known as the Serpent. All right, this past year, 40 catches, 608 yards, 5 touchdowns, and has had really good years in Detroit. Of course, everybody remembers Josh Reynolds from the brutal game that he had during the NFC Championship game when he dropped not 1, but 2 passes against the 49ers. It's interesting to me that we sit here on March the 21st, and he's still available. We're over 2.5 weeks into free agency. And Josh Reynolds still does not have a home. I had mentioned before that you kind of compare him a little bit with KJ Osborne from the Minnesota Vikings. Osborne just recently signed with the Patriots. Mike Williams just recently signed with the Jets. This is a deep as heck wide receiver class in this draft. The reason why all those running backs were taken in the free agency on day one, DeAndre Swift and Tony Pollard, is because the running back class sucks. But this draft is chock full of wide receivers. So I still think Josh Reynolds somehow finds his way back, but I would not rule out, and I'm going to mention this coming up next, would not rule out a wide receiver at 29 for Detroit. But it's going to be very difficult for me to kind of pick one and make this. I think the Lions could go receiver. I think the Lions could go edge. I think the Lions could go corner. I think the Lions could go D tackle, another one. I think the Lions could add an offensive lineman. Their right guard now, Kevin Zeitler's on a 1-year deal. You just never know with Brad Holmes. And we'll get into that coming up next, right here on Locked On Lions. All right, everybody. Locked On Lions is sponsored by BetterHelp. Thinking about therapy, thinking about talking to somebody. All right. It's the first thing you do if you had an extra hour in your day, right? A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time. But time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? Best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. You're thinking of starting up therapy? Why don't you give BetterHelp a try? It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with our friends at BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, so as I mentioned before, Locked On Mock Draft is going to come out pretty darn soon. All of the hosts get together, and for the ones that can't make it, they send their picks in, and they get picked that way depending on who's off the board. So you have to have a lot of options just in case. And I'm not going to share with everybody who I think the Lions are going to take or who I think they should take or what I think Brad Holmes is going to do. It's a tough call. We're a month away, and at first it was Lions are taking corner at 29. There's no way they're taking anything but a corner at 29. Then the Lions signed Carlton Davis. Then the Lions signed Amik Robertson. Then the Lions brought back Khalil Dorsey and brought back Emmanuel Mosley and had Sutton. Now they don't. So you figured, all right, we're going to pivot. Forget cornerback. Lions need a left guard. Jonah Jackson is leaving, signing a $17 million a year contract with the Hollywood Rams. But then the Lions got Kevin Zeitler. They're going to move Graham Glasgow likely over to left guard, and Zeitler, who's been a great right guard for years, is just going to move right in. So now you go, oh, I guess it's going to be an edge rusher, right? But the Lions signed Marcus Davenport. Still could use another edge, but Kaminsky's back. Pascal moves around. They got Davenport. They got James Houston. What about a receiver? Well, right now the Lions has brought Donovan Peoples-Jones back, but they probably could use another receiver. There are so many options at number 29 for Detroit. I looked at Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft on NFL.com today. This came out, let me see. I think he put this out earlier in the week. This was, 2 days ago. And he had the Lions. I respect the heck out of Daniel Jeremiah. I think he does a good job. He had the Lions taking Kool-Aid McKinstry at 29. And he wrote, quote, "This was a tough call for me, deciding between McKinstry and Penn State edge rusher Chop Robinson. Lions ended up going with a talented outside cornerback to pair with his former Alabama teammate, slot corner Brian Branch." Now, in this mock draft, Cooper DeJean, the junior cornerback from Iowa, goes at number 30 to Baltimore. If you've been watching this podcast or listening to Locked On Lions, you know I'm a DeJean stan. I love him. That's who I want the Lions to take. Love the speed, love the character, love the size. He's versatile. I think Cooper DeJean's also a better football player than Kool-Aid McKinstry. McKinstry's season this past year was not his best year. So, and Chop Robinson wouldn't be a bad option either. But then you look up and go, all right, what if Adonai Mitchell is available, the wide receiver? Wouldn't you take him? What if Darius Robinson is available? Inside, outside, edge, D tackle, can do it all. It's from Detroit. We have so many good options here. It was tough for me to put a little list together for our mock to go, here's where I think this is going. And for the past few years, the Lions have been drafting a lot higher. Of course, Jahmyr Gibbs was taken 12th. Penei Sewell was taken, 7th? Aiden Hutchinson was taken 2nd. At 29, it is such a crapshoot, but would love your comments, YouTube watchers. If you had to guess and prioritize it. And again, I know Brad Holmes doesn't draft on need, but now that Sutton's gone, you got to get a corner pretty early in this thing, don't you? But what if there's that receiver at 29 that you just love? What if they love Leggett from South Carolina or Mitchell from Texas or Xavier Worthy? The Lions like speed. Do you take him and then get your corner? What about offensive line? What about edge? Do you have to get another edge? Is Davenport going to be good enough opposite of Hutchinson to do the job on a one-year flyer where he's never healthy? So many good options for the Lions. So many. And with receiver, you can get a really good one in the second or third round. Look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. Brad Holmes got him in the fourth round. So I do love this time of year. I do. All right, that's your Thursday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Thanks, folks, for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. We are back again tomorrow with a Friday edition